Hello, and welcome to the Southcoast Artists Index, where artists, performers, and writers, as well as curators, directors, and supporters, anyone with ties to the creative community, drops by to introduce themselves to you. We'll talk about their beginnings, their vision, their passion, and so much more.
Welcome to the Artists Index podcast, episode number 1. My name's Jeff Watton. I'm joined today by Ron Fortier, and we're flipping the script today. Normally you'll be hearing Ron's voice. He'll be the one interviewing artists, but for this podcast, just going to be an introduction to what the Artists Index is all about, how it started, what the vision is, and all that kind of fun stuff. So, without further ado, Ron, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Ron Fortier. I'm an abstract painter. I live in Fairhaven, and that's Jeff and I have resurrected a project that we started a few years back that's near and dear to our hearts. It's the Artists Index project, and what that entails is gathering as many artists as we can that live and work in this area and this creative community and getting them to register on the artist profile website and taking it from there.
So what was the genesis behind the idea for this project?
There was two points. One is I remember seeing an ad placed in the Standard Times old Sunday magazine. I believe it's called The Bowsprit. It was placed there by Mary Jean Blasdale, who was the curator at the Whaling Museum in New Bedford. And she was working on what became her seminal book, Artists of New Bedford, a biographical dictionary. And it intrigued me that there were so many names that she had their names but had no information on them. And for some reason it just stuck in the back of my head. Then in an often noted article in the November 2011 issue of the Atlantic magazine, New Bedford was first listed as the 7th most artistic city in the country. The ranking was something that the researchers, Richard Florida and Kevin Stolaric, refer to as the location quotient, or LQ. And basically the LQ calculates the number of self-identified artists per capita and ranks that figure against the average of other metropolitan areas. The New Bedford's LQ was 2.393, more than twice the national average, ranking below Santa Fe, San Francisco, and New York City, but well ahead of Boston, Providence, and Provincetown. And that's a significant number of people making art in and around New Bedford. So that really got us to thinking about where are these artists? Why can't we just go to one resource and look them up? So that's where the Artist Index project started, but that was the genesis of it. And the sole purpose of it is to attract the creative community's living, visual, performing, and literary artists, and to encourage them to register. We want to create this concise directory of not only living artists, but those who have passed away and left behind a legacy, something of value to this and future generations. And the goal is to ultimately make visible the creative relativity of these artists through their teachers, classmates, and colleagues. Basically, the Artist Index is putting artists in their place in history.
It's going to entail profiles on the website, interviews via podcast format, and videos down the road, right?
Right. The Artist Index project has several components. One is the website itself, which is offering 3 distinct free registration platforms. One is for the artists themselves, where they can have their own profile page. There's a lot of artists who don't want, need, or care for a website. And the second one is for people who have acquaintances or family members, or they just believe that the information that they have is important and they'd like to see it live on, so to speak, of artists from the past. In my particular case, although my mom's still alive, I created a profile for her in another version of this in the genesis of this project, and comes to find out that she is the only one of her generation that has been documented, and that's kind of sad in a way. So that's another aspect of it. And then the third aspect is anyone who's doing research in a city for whatever reason, reporters, scholars, genealogists, it'll be a great resource for them to search for and find information, especially as the database grows. So we have the website, we have the podcast, such as the one we're doing now, but interviewing artists and listening to their thoughts and their overview on not just their work, but living and working in this city. And then we'll also be introducing videos at some point in time, step-by-step process, but we're excited about it.
So where can people find more information about the project?
The more information about the project is available at our website, theartistsindex.com. The index is going to be growing, as I said, as we can attract more people to it, to register, it'll grow and grow. And that's where one of my particular goals is to find what I call the creative relativity. For example, my instructor, Ed Tonieri, at what was SMU back then, was a instructor, and I believe he was also one of the presidents of the Swain School. But his instructor was Hans Hofmann. And it just goes on and on and on. So if you can imagine a creative genealogy, that's my ultimate goal. I'm just very curious to see the pathways of this creative relativity just from the city of New Bedford to begin with and the surrounding communities. Join us as we speak with and listen to the creative community's visual, performing, and literary artists. We'll also feature those seeking information on and sharing what they have discovered about the artists who have passed away that were part of the creative community's fabric in days gone by. And we'll also have people who are associated with the arts in what is now being referred to as the art industry, collectors, brokers, those kinds of people for interesting and I hope stimulating and informative conversations.
You're listening to the Southcoast Artists Index, conversations with the creative community's visual, performing, and literary artists.